Hi everybody, welcome to our 4 o'clock live. I am here today with Brendan Cates. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm so glad I got your name right.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like you know it, but you maybe don't know it, and you're like, okay, am I going to get it right? But thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
You own REVAMP Consulting.
Yes.
I look forward to everybody hearing about that. We'll talk about that a little later in the show. So again, thank you for being here. We've just gotten to know each other briefly over the last month or so, and you're awesome.
Thank you.
I love you guys. I love meeting people that are in recovery and that are passionate about something, and especially passionate about helping others, paving the way, being of service, and you embody that. So thank you for bringing that to the table. We need it. We desperately need this. We need that help out there. So thank you for being you and being of service and just being a role model in the AA community and just in the helping others community. So so with that being said, you are in recovery, right?
I am, yeah.
So when did that journey start for you?
The recovery journey?
Yeah.
I was like straight edge. I was an athlete, and I was like, I'm not touching anything because I'm an athlete. I'm going to preserve my body. My body's a temple, all these things.
You're an athlete. What did you...
I played baseball and basketball in high school, and then I played college baseball. Yeah, so I didn't touch anything. I remember saying no to weed and just being like, oh, I said no to drugs, and like was so happy about it. And then eventually, like being the alcoholic that I am, I didn't want to be peer pressured into like doing drugs. So one day I was just like, I feel like doing drugs. Like I'm gonna call my friends and we're gonna smoke weed together. And that's where it started. And it was just like an everyday thing since then. And then that just quickly led just to drinking and using and any drug I can get my hands on just for the experience. I've tried a lot of drugs.
So what happened with baseball then? Because it sounds like you were just like off and running right away. You were just doing it all the time and other drugs. So that eventually fell off, or what did that look like?
I was playing baseball, and then I basically threw away my career without even knowing it. And I think that has something to do with my using too. I lost something that I was really passionate about and I loved. And so I just kind of used drugs and alcohol to numb that. And through using and drinking and all my experiences, I did end up having 3 kids in my addiction. And towards the end of it, it was just really bad, and I really wanted to be home with my kids, and I just couldn't stop. I was working in a restaurant, and all I can do, I would drink before work, I would drink during work, I would drink after work, I would do cocaine in the bathroom, smoke weed outside on my breaks, and after work, I'd be like, oh, I want to have one drink, and I would be out till 5:30 in the morning just drinking. I didn't know how to stop. And
so did you know that you had a problem? Because obviously it would seem from the average person, they'd be going, obviously there's a huge problem here.
Yeah.
But when you have that ism, we're rationalizing, we're in denial.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you to really realize like, whoa, there's something really wrong here?
I think it took, about the last year of my drinking and using.
How long did that, was that for?
9 years.
9 years.
Yeah, so I was trying to stop the last like year or 2 years. I was trying to like stop. And I just noted for myself, just continuing to go, I would say, I'm not going to drink today. And you can hook me up to a polygraph test like in the morning, and I would pass that I'm not drinking or using. And by noon or 1, I would be drinking just because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know how to cope with it, and I just had to drink.
Wow. So you were just tortured by this.
I was just tortured.
For years. And it just shows you the grips, that addiction can have on us, that as much as we want, we'll pray about it, we'll beg, we'll ask. Like you said, you can hook you up to a polygraph, you weren't going to do it, and it just takes us over, and we need support, and we need to be able to ask for help and have others be there for us, because it sounds like from what you're saying, you had surrounded yourself with like-minded people at the time, so there was no one there to really help you through that because you weren't asking for it and you weren't really showing it to anybody else. Did you have family and friends involved in any way, or what did that look like?
I did, and I didn't ask people, but I did tell them to hold me accountable, but I was telling the wrong people, and they weren't going to hold me accountable. They were like, oh, why are you drinking tonight? I was like, yeah, I just won, it's cool. And they were like, okay.
Yeah.
But I did have family. My grandma she went to church every day, and I feel that she prayed. She was one of the people that like prayed for me and to help me get sober. My parents were always helpful, but I always kind of just, whatever they said, I did the opposite. That was kind of everyone, right? I didn't like rules. I just did whatever I wanted to do, whenever I wanted to do it. Work, family, all that, friends that really did care.
Yeah.
But I just knew something really bad was going to happen, and I wanted it, but I didn't have willingness, and I had reservations. And when I thought I was going to kill someone or kill myself, to be honest. I thought that's what was really, really bad was going to happen. Luckily for me, and I say luckily, like I'm grateful because I got a 3rd DUI. And I say I'm grateful because even if I was driving the rest of the way home and I didn't get pulled over for that DUI, I could have wrapped my car around a tree or a pole, or I could have killed a family or something like that, because I was not driving very well. And I always thought I was the good drunk driver, the designated drunk driver. That's what I used to be called. So I was grateful that I got pulled over for a DUI. And in jail that night, I did a panel a while ago, and a newcomer asked me, like, did you pray when you went to jail that night? And I was like, no, but that was the first time I was ever willing. That was the first time I ever surrendered.
What did that feel like?
It felt like the hand of God just reached inside me, took my alcoholism away, and just threw it in the trash can. It felt like the desire to drink just left me. And it's all because I surrendered. I don't believe, and I've tried to do other things too, like just with willingness and like praying, okay, can I be willing? Can I be willing? And for me, the only way to overcome something is to surrender. If I just, and I look at it like sports, like I'm a big sports guy. And it kind of hurt me with the drugs and alcohol because I was a little smaller when I played sports, and I learned to win. You have to dig and claw and fight and figure out a new game plan and try to work a way around it so you can win. You can beat the opponent, and that's what I was doing with alcoholism. I was digging and clawing. I was drinking water in between beers, drinking non-alcoholic beer every once in a while, switching it up, only drinking wine, only drinking this, did everything that everyone talks about. So the only thing I can do is surrender, and it's like a game. It's like kind of just like I felt like I lost the game. I felt like the game was over, the final clock buzzer rang, and I lost. And at first it was just like I lost. I hate losing, and it didn't feel great. And then like once I started doing the next indicated step, once I detoxed at my house. I put my 2 weeks in for my restaurant job because I knew if I worked there I would continue to drink and use.
So you did this on your own initially?
I did it on my own, yeah.
Okay, and so you detoxed yourself.
Yeah.
Would not suggest that to people out there.
No, don't do that.
Horrible experience.
Yeah,
I've done it too, 17 days in a bathtub, but don't do that. Go to treatment, call us.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so you did it at home.
Yeah, I didn't know who to call. I didn't know where to go. I knew AA because of court cards, but I didn't know the Serenity Prayer. I mumbled it. I didn't know there were 12 steps. Like I just went to AA, got my court card signed, but I did see that it worked for other people.
Okay.
So I did go alone, and it is funny though, because the first time I went, I spilled my guts. I shared everything and I said, I really want to do this, and nobody came up to me after the meeting, and I was just standing there felt like 30 minutes, it was a minute or two, and no one came up to me, and I left. And it's sad because I could have just went out. I could have been like, AA doesn't work, this stuff doesn't work.
Yeah, let me ask you real quick before we move on from this, because I think this is important and it happens a lot. So if somebody does have an experience, like someone watching, they go, oh, that was my experience too. You know, I went to a meeting and it was a bad experience, or I thought it was going to be this, or whatever it might be. What would you say to that person after that first meeting if they didn't have a good experience?
I would say try other meetings. I would say try to get connected with people that are in recovery, like one of us, or there's a lot of people in the industry that are very passionate about it and they really do care about your sobriety. So getting in connection with them, and that doesn't mean you have to join their program or anything, but if someone came to me and said like what do I do? I would help them. I would find them meetings that they might like.
Exactly, and that's such a huge thing, you guys, for anyone out there with meetings. If you haven't been, I know when I first started going, first of all, I sat outside in my car, terrified. I wouldn't even go in.
Yeah, it's hard.
For like a month.
It's hard.
Like I wouldn't do it. I was not in the recovery scene like I did. I wouldn't do it, but it is drastically different. Meetings from area to area, the meetings, even the time you go, like it is so many different types of meetings. And it might take you a month, 2 months, 3 months to find like your tribe and the right meeting and the right time and the right town. So don't give up. Really try it, give it a good effort, go around, try different meetings, ask people. Okay. So you started going to meetings, you went back.
Yeah, so I left that meeting and I knew someone in recovery, so I called her. She gave me some guys' numbers. I called them. went to a meeting the next night, got a sponsor. He took me to a morning meeting, and that became my home group.
Okay.
The really cool part about that home group is I was there for maybe 2 or 3 days, and I got a letter from court, and I was on probation for my second DUI when I got my third. So I got the letter, and it basically said, you're going to jail. And so I called some people. Like, I had that feeling inside me that I want to drink, and it wasn't like I want to drink, but it was like, I have this feeling, I know what I do when I have this feeling, I know how to get rid of it, at least temporarily. But I did not want to drink. I was just, it was done. The game was over. And so I called someone in from that meeting. I barely knew him. He said, are you going to the meeting before court? I was like, yeah, 6:30 in the morning meeting. And he said, share about it. I said, okay, like, what's that gonna do? I'm still going to jail. And I went to the meeting and just kept taking the next indicated step. And I shared about it. And it was New Year's Eve. It was the day of New Year's Eve. And 6 guys came to me after the meeting and said, we're going to court with you.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's when I kind of said, like, the support is out there. Like, people do care. And I know there are a lot of meetings, and it's hard to watch. There are some meetings that don't. You know, there are some meetings that have their little cliques, and they don't want to reach their hand out because so many people come and go. But these people said, we're going with you. And long story short, my public defender said this judge does not mess around. He takes everything he takes what you did hard. And he said, you're probably going to jail. And the judge came out of the chambers and said, the only reason you're not going to jail is because of those 6 people behiand you.
Wow.
And
it gives me goosebumps.
I know, it gives me goosebumps too. And the crazy thing is, though, I left, and like in my head, I was like, I got away with it. Because that addict mind right there. But at the same time, it's like, then I went to breakfast and I was like, no, I didn't get away with it. But I felt like I should have been in jail. Yeah. But just having those people there, and if my old friends would have never done that, friends. Right. And if they did, the judge would have said, the only reason I'm putting you in jail is because those 6 people behind you. Exactly. Because they didn't look the part. Exactly. Wow. And are you in touch with those 6 men still? I'm still in touch with them, yeah. Wow. That is, see, there's always hope, and there's people out there that do want to help. Yeah. And that they have no motives, like they just genuinely want to help. Yeah. So how has it been being a dad in recovery? Because you have 3 sons. 3 boys, yeah. Yeah, you're busy. So what is that like? Did they see you before? Like, how did your relationship change from before and then now in recovery? Yeah, they're 5, 7, and 8. William's my oldest, Griffin's the middle one, and Hunter's my youngest. And Hunter, he was I was kind of going through it while he was like an infant, so he didn't really see much or experience much. Excuse me. Griffin and William, though, they saw it, and I was telling you earlier, William really is in touch with his emotional, he's very emotional, connected with people. He's the 8-year-old? Yeah, he's the 8-year-old. Okay. He can feel tension in the air. He can just feel it. And if someone curses, like, he relates that to like drinking and using, because that's what we did back in the day. He's funny. He's like, oh, like that person's drinking alcohol. So it's like explaining to him, like, some people can drink. Right. Some people aren't addicted. They're not going to drink like to the extent where they're getting in trouble. They can have a glass of wine and then that be it. So kind of teaching him that. But being a parent, I'm engaged to my fiance, Jen. She has 10 years of sobriety. Amazing. So we co-parent together, and it is incredible. And I'll be in one room and she'll be in another room, and one of the boys will ask her something and she'll give them an answer, and then they'll run to me and ask me something, and I'll give them the exact same answer because the answer is based off the program. And I love that. We talk about like honesty and open-mindedness, willingness, and things like that. And the other night, William he got into it a little bit, and he was very upset, and so he went outside, and it was pretty remarkable because I do pray to him at night, and he went outside and he started praying, and I was looking at him. So I went out there with him and sat down and just had a conversation with him, and without him knowing it, he did a 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th step. Wow. Because we just sat with each other and we talked about the situation, we talked about his character defects, we talked about what he can do next time and what kind of positive affect he can replace that character defect with. We prayed about it, and then we talked about the A step, we talked about who we harmed and how we can make an amends to them, and then he went inside and made an amends. I absolutely love that. It's so amazing what they can gain, learn, and accomplish from the 12 steps, and seeing us go through it. Obviously none of us want our children to see us go through it, right? Yeah. But on the flip side, what they learn and gain, the compassion, the understanding, the forgiveness, the love, the unconditional love,
that they see, and that we overcome.
Yeah.
And that we're not stuck in this situation. And it's the same thing with me and my son, and he's seen it, right?
Yeah.
And being able to show him, like, yeah, that's the life I used to live, but look at what I've been able to accomplish.
Yeah.
And just, you know, showing that over time people can change, and over time, you know, we can forgive, and over time we can overcome. You know, so how amazing for them to be able to have that experience with you now, and see you working this program, and be engaged to a woman that's working a program, that you guys are all unified together. What would you say if one of your sons came to you and was struggling? What would be your advice, suggestion, encouragement?
With drugs and alcohol? Or,
yeah.
I mean, we're not there yet, thank God.
Hopefully it doesn't ever happen. But if it does, for the dads out there that are going through it.
I think it will, and I think the 12 steps, like, it doesn't matter if you're an addict or not, it'll help anyone. And for me, no one taught me how to deal with resentment, fear, anger, things like that. Like, my parents did a fantastic job, but they didn't teach me, like, how to handle this stuff. So I would bottle it up, and then when I found weed, and then I found drinking, and then other drugs, like, I realized, like, this works. Like, this is the solution to what I've been feeling for so long. The solution ended up becoming the problem, but it worked for a while. And so teaching them that, like, they know how to work the steps. They don't know it, and I don't have to put it at the steps. It's just like, this is how we work. This is how we live our life. It's like, if you have a resentment, like, we'll write it down. Like, take care of it. What's your part? What did you do? And how can you clean up your side of the street? Because you can't control them. So even when I pick them up from school today, and the teacher says, like, oh, just letting you know, like, one of the kids, like, hit your son. And I'm not like, oh, like, is he in trouble? My question is, like, what did my son do? How did he react? And usually and they kind of get taken back, because they're like, no parents talk like that. They're like, oh, is my son okay? They get mad. I'm like, no, but what did my son do? Like, he's fine, but what did he do? How did he react? And that's what I want to focus on. You know,
always seeing your part in it, whatever it might be, and being able to acknowledge that, and, you know, hopefully fix it. And just allowing them the space to be open and to be okay with having feelings. You know, so many times it's just a cultural thing, like, smile, everything's good. Someone asks you how you're doing, I'm fine. And it's okay not to be. And it's okay to cry and talk about your feelings and have these resentments and work through them. Like, that's such a big, important thing. Just not just with children, with everybody with resentments, you know, and what they turn into and how they fester. And I love it. What have you learned about yourself the most through this whole entire process?
The whole entire process. With my third DUI, I went to DUI court. That's an incredible program. Judge Anderson is an incredible man. They don't look at you as like a number, they look at you as a person, and they're doing a lot of great work to actually help people succeed and be successful in their sobriety. But he taught me to be on time. If I was 1 minute late, you'd go to jail for the night. So on time, but also just taught me a lot about myself and being comfortable, being uncomfortable, being able to kind of like put myself out there and I'm not afraid to share with anyone my addiction or my story or my past, because that was the old me. That person doesn't exist anymore. This is the new me, and this is how I try to live my life one day at a time. Just honest, reliable, trustworthy, just a good person in general. So that's taught me a lot. In the industry, working in the industry, I've been a case manager for coming up on 2 years. And at first, my perspective of sobriety was AA works. And I believe it does, and it works for me. But I found that AA isn't for everybody. And I'm not saying it won't work for everybody, but it's hard. It's hard to go in there. It's hard to put yourself out there, and it's hard to find the right group and the right people, and keep doing it, even if like you're not getting the results that you want, and you kind of feel alone. And in AA, there's a big support network, but at the same time, like everybody has their own lives going on. You have a sponsor. You can call them you can call them once a day or whatever they ask you to do, but when no one's watching, it's like you're alone, and the accountability, if you don't put yourself out there, then eventually you're going to fade away, and people are going to stop reaching out.
For sure. And also, you know, being able to reach out and figure out what you enjoy, you know, what makes you happy, you know, having that sober fun. So for you, like, how did you figure that out? Because it sounds like for many years you were just drinking and doing drugs. And so, and for a lot of people, including myself, we get into recovery and we're terrified because we don't know how we're going to have sober fun, how we're going to go into situations and not drink or not do drugs. So for you, how did you navigate through that and figure out what you enjoyed doing, and how did you do it?
Yeah, it was a good question. And I mean, like I said in the beginning, it was all AA, so it's like I was in so much trouble that like I didn't have a time to even think about that. And then through this process, like that is very important to me today, is just self-care and finding time for yourself and finding fun in sobriety. Because like even though I wasn't locked up for my third DUI, it's like when I was in my addiction, I was a prisoner in my own head. Like everything I did revolved around alcohol. So even the things that I loved, right? So like I would play golf, I would go surfing, I would do all these things, but it would be revolved around alcohol. So in sobriety, learning how to do those, it was kind of tricky. And I was able to find people that like to do things like that. And I was really open-minded. I did things like rock climbing that I've never done before. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And just put myself out there. And some of them I was there and I'm like, this is not really that fun. But I tried. And then I can kind of go back. It's all like trial and error.
Exactly. And I think having that open-mindedness is so huge. I was talking to somebody else about that the other day, and they were talking about they had done a group where it was music, right? And they went into it going, I'm not going to like this. Why am I doing this? And then they did it and they loved it, you know? And it's like, you're not going to know until you try. Like, don't knock anything until you try it, and just have that openness and the willingness to just give it a go and see what you like to do. Because we're so different when we're in sobriety as well, and in recovery, you know, like our senses are different, what we like is different. We like we're rediscovering ourselves all over again. So just get out there and try it. So
Definitely.
Well, I love it. I love your story. I love what you're doing. I love that you work a strong program, and that you have these 3 boys that you're raising with your fiance, and you started this company. So REVAMP Consulting. We'll segue into this. I love the concept. I love how you're going to be providing, you know, resources and just this foundation for men and eventually women that are struggling. So please, let's hear about it.
I have been working, like I said, I've been working in the treatment industry, and just by working through it and reaching out to alumni, and I got into this field because of the people that helped me, and I kind of asked myself, what am I passionate about? And I was passionate about sports, but my kids are out of school when I would be coaching other kids, so I didn't want to do that. I'm take pride in like my family time and my relationship with my kids and my fiance. So I asked myself, like, what else am I passionate about? And my sobriety, I was very passionate about. So I called old case managers and asked them, and I just wanted to do for them. I wanted to do for someone what they did for me, and help people. And working in the field, it's amazing. I'm able to help a lot of people. Alumni, we're able to see a lot of people come back, but it just got me thinking, it's like all these people that they don't come back, or they come back as like a newcomer that just relapse. And treatments are amazing. It helps people get on their feet, helps them detox, help them get some structure, some stability, and just like some knowledge, some education about their addiction. But a lot of people get that 30, 60, 90 days. And once they're done with that, it's like they're starting to feel good. They're starting to get their jobs back. Their family's starting to get back together. Their spouses trusting them again. They're getting all these things back, and they're like, okay, it's back to normal. And so they go back to their normal life, and they end up using again, and they wonder why. And then they cycle through the treatments. And my goal when I first got here was not to help people get 30, 60, 90 days. I want to help people get a lifetime of sobriety, because I know how difficult it is, but I also know like the rewards that come with sobriety, and like today I have full custody of my 3 kids. Like I was on the edge of losing them all. I have a beautiful fiance, I have my own place, I have a car, I have a business now. If you asked me 4 years ago, I would have been like, no, I'm not gonna have any of that. My plans were here, and people say like, excuse me, wherever you think you're gonna be, you're selling yourself short. And like if I drink and use, I know exactly where I'm gonna be. I'm gonna be dead or in jail. But if I don't, like if I stay sober, I don't know where I'm gonna be. I don't know what the possibilities are endless. So I want to give that back to people. So what I started for Revamp is like revamp their lifestyle, because it's not just about not drinking. AA is great, but it doesn't have to be meetings all the time, like always putting in the work, always feeling, people feel burnt out by that.
Yeah.
They need the fun in sobriety, the open conversations, the going out in the real world and meeting someone just for a good talk. And then also if someone's interested in surfing but all they did was drink when they surfed, it could be a trigger. So so Revamp basically focuses on after 90 days and then continues on 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, however long they want to help them revamp their lifestyle, either giving them resources for gyms. I know actually my future father-in-law is a golf instructor, so give people golf lessons. So just introducing them to the resources that they need to build their own recovery. Because there's no cookie cutter, like my recovery looks different than your recovery, and everyone needs to find what works for them.
It's such an amazing concept because, you know, people need this service. So like if I was a guy and I called you and I said, hey, you know, I love doing this activity, like you were saying, like whether it's surfing or, you know, playing pool or whatever it might be, but I'm used to going with these people and doing this, like, you're a safe, sober person that could go with me and do that. Or like for me, I would suffer from anxiety a lot, eating in a busy restaurant. I still do a little bit, but that was one of my things. So I'd have to do like exposure therapies. So, you know, you would be that person that'd be able to go with somebody and understand what they're going through, right? And be relatable, and also being there to have that support and that safety. And then on top of that, if they want meetings or what type of meetings or the resources, you know, the gyms, the outings, whatever it may look like, and being able to bundle it all up for people and have those services, I think it's so important and it's needed. So yeah, that's amazing.
You know, we focus on just peer support and just encouragement as well. And my main focus is like, I'm not here to tell anyone what to do or how to do it. I want to support them on what they want to do and how they want to do it, because so many places, and unfortunately a lot of I don't want to say a lot, but there are some people in AA or even treatment where it's like, if you don't do this, you're going to relapse. And I don't believe that. You're going to die. I mean, if I relapse, I will die. I know that.
Me too.
My sponsor said he'll kill me if I relapse, but then he said, you're like me, so you'll die before I get to you. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. So it's like helping them. If it's like the gym, I know a lot of people are like, the gym is my therapy. Like I go to the gym so I can kind of decompress and just relax, and that helps me stay sober. So finding what works for them, and then putting them in the right positions to do it, and then offering phone calls and meetings out in the real world, going to lunch, celebrating sobriety milestones. Because I always think, a lot of people think like when we drink, it's like, oh, we're resentful, depressed, angry, sad. I drank every day that ended in Y. Like I drank if I was happy, if I was sad, if I was angry, if I was...
Didn't matter.
It didn't matter. So celebrating those milestones, because I celebrated with drinking too.
I think that's so important.
Taking someone, if they're like interested in like the Lakers, like taking them to a Laker game to celebrate in sobriety, showing people how to have fun in sobriety and not drink and be in those situations like you said, and just live our life, because we weren't living before, we were just existing. We were just surviving, and now we're living, but our addiction is still existing. So it's not, we can't be like 90 days like I'm good to go, like back to my old life. We get to live 2 lives in one lifetime, which is not a lot of people get to do that. And endless opportunities and possibilities. Really, awesome. Anything we want, we can create. So, and I love that you're going to help people do that. So where can people find you if they're interested in understanding what you do more? Right now I'm building my website, so it should be done by the end of the month. But if people want to reach out, right now it's more word of mouth. So if anyone does have any questions, I can give my link to you, just to give my contact information and things like that. You might as well say your phone number too, because this is going to be shared all over the place. Yeah, definitely. So Brendan Cates, you can give me a call or text me 949-590-7407, or you can shoot me an email at brendan@revamp.consulting. Amazing. So, thank you so much. Thank you. One last question. If
you were trying to explain recovery to somebody that had no idea what it was, what would you say recovery is?
Freedom. Freedom. I mean, I don't think only addicts understand what it's like. Normally, people that aren't suffering from this, people that don't have the allergy of the body and the obsession of the mind, they don't understand it. But we're trapped. We're trapped in our own head, and it's an endless cycle of just suffering. And we've gone through pain, but we don't have to suffer anymore. So, kind of letting go of our past and being free, and enjoying the life that you wouldn't even think it was possible.
That's right. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
To anybody out there that's suffering, I hope you find your freedom. Please reach out to us if you are.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
on the show.
I appreciate you.
You're great. Thank you so
you.
much. All right, you guys. We'll see you next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.